Good morning, June. She's like, Mom's talking. I am working on Christmas decor. I'm baking bread. I'm doing Christmas laundry. We're doing all the things. She wants a snack because she can tell I'm baking bread. I'm on my, like, I don't even know. Hi, sweetie. I'm on my, like, I'm redoing the arrangements in here because they were just kind of messing with me. I changed out the planter. I'm sitting back here for a reason. I changed out the planter on this table. I don't know if you remember that, like, amber glass one, but I put that brass bucket and I wound up filling it with a couple of the big ornaments, and then I changed out some of the foliage, and then I did the same thing here. I took out the big one because the big one was just throwing off the, it just didn't look right. And I've, like, ornaments are going away, trees are up, we're good. I haven't decided on the topper, if I'm even gonna do a topper. When I tell you the fact that I'm just doing it for me is such a game changer for my mental health and just like how I'm handling it. It's unbelievable. Hello, it is Thursday. My hair looks weird. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I just ran to the library and I picked up, I've been on a donut bender, probably both actually, lately, and I'm not mad at it. By lately, I mean since November 1st. So, like, you know, a week. But I went to the library and I returned some books and I picked up my holds and I stopped and got some donuts, and I love that for me. It's such a nice day. It was like a little post-therapy treat errand run, and I've got a bunch of stuff I've got to get done today. This week in general has been a really productive week, but I wanted to specifically, like, share something. I was talking in therapy today about how essentially, like, I've had really rapid fire revelations in the last week or so, week and a half. It's really confirmed this year was supposed to be my year of healing. And I said to her, I'm doing this this like thing right now where I had to look back on my year and, like, pay attention to, like, okay, like, what did you see? What were you aiming to achieve? What's different? All that kind of stuff. It was interesting to see the arc of the year. And I have said, the thing I said to my therapist this morning was, like, I've known this entire year this is a year of healing for me, but I didn't really know what that was going to look like. And lately, the last, like, week or so, I've had a lot of, like, rapid fire revelations that have come from, like, really integrating a lot of the healing and a lot of the lessons. You learn it, but when you embody it, like, how it actually translates, what the aligned action actually feels like and looks like and all of that. And I said, it's been really eye-opening, and it's been really like, oh my God, I just feel so much sturdier. Like, the lid's gonna get blown off. And if you're into astrology, you know Pluto's about to go from it's in its last couple of weeks of the Capricorn, and it's going into Aquarius. And, like, what Capricorn is for me, like, in the power and, like, all of that, this is totally in alignment. And I'm like, oh, the energy that I'm feeling, but also just in general, like, a lot of the lessons that I've learned around power. I didn't realize how many deeply internalized systems I had that were really wrong or really flawed, or how I was just really set up for failure from childhood. You know, I've parsed through, like, I was in my Wolverine phase for like a month. And now that I'm, like, out of it, and I was saying to her, like, you unpack the baggage and you realize you don't have to pick that suitcase back up. You can just leave it. And going into the back half of my life, being able to say, oh, I am so much lighter and I'm silly again and I'm like enjoying myself so much. Like I'm so much more fun than I was a year ago, obviously with grief. But I would argue I'm more fun right now than I've been in a couple of years because I just have really unpacked so much stuff. And so, like, who I was then versus who I am now, this version's very different. And there's like an embodiment to it versus like a release, right? Like before it was like, oh, because I could. Now it's because it's who I am. I love that. Like I'm really happy and proud of myself for having done this. And I know I can feel things shifting. Like I can feel change coming. And yeah, I just feel like there's been a lot of lessons that I've learned and had to integrate. And I've had to do it on this timeline, even though I didn't have control over it or I didn't have insight into what it was going to look like. Now that I can look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense. And like, I didn't think the journey was going to go down this way kind of thing, but I'm grateful in a lot of ways that it did because it really illuminated things I hadn't. A lot of the shadow work and a lot of like just ways you let your power get siphoned away from you. You know what I mean? It's just kind of bananas. Anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited for 2025. I'm really enjoying this holiday season, but I also just feel really excited for 2025 because I feel like I'm going into it so much more sure-footed than I think I've ever gone into any year. I'm so grateful to myself that I took the time to process and that I prioritized healing. Like that was my number one, and I'm so grateful I did. I say all that and also saying I live in America and I'm a female and I live in a red state. So like I'm a Southern woman who lives in a country that just elected a convicted felon to the highest office. So my inner work and my inner joy and all of that is not because of this week. I just want to state that it's not because I'm happy with how I'm not interested in having a conversation. I'm not interested at all in having a conversation. If you're gonna comment something not nice, just don't. I'll block you so fucking fast. I'm not interested in having a conversation. It's not about anything divisive. I don't have any capacity for that whatsoever. It's just about, okay, this is done. So how do I show up as my best self in the community that I've chosen, in my local community and the community of people that I call mine? How do I show up for myself and for them? Because that's what I have power over that. I have influence over that. I have control over that. I'm not going to pretend like my bubble is bigger than that, basically. I'm just going to take care of what I can. So all that to say, I have to get some stuff done now, but I have like one more nonfiction book after I finish this one. And then I think I'm just going to fiction it the rest of the year because I honestly, I want that. I want my Netflix holiday movies and I want my cutie little witchy fiction. And I just want to be vibing out because life is hard enough and you don't need to make it suck anymore than it already does. I just DNF'd a book at 33%. And it was like so funny because it was like this little boundary check of mine being like, I don't enjoy this. Like, I am not enjoying this book. Yes, it's an easy read, but it doesn't make me happy. I'm getting nothing out of it. I'm done. Like, it's not supposed to be more difficult than that. It's a hobby. It's for enjoyment. I'm not doing this to learn something. This is not like Norse mythology 101. I'm really sorry if you're struggling this week. I have a lot of friends, specifically my friend groups around chronic illness, are really scared. And then I think anybody I know that would check a box around like 2S LGBTQIA. I don't personally know closely a single woman that's in a good mood. here to get my lashes filled, but she's running late, so I stopped and got myself a little festive protein coffee. And I thought I would chat with you a little bit because I'm doing a pretty piss poor job of that. The thing that's been on my mind lately that I thought I would share with you is I'm doing better. I'm doing like a lot better. But one of the things I've been thinking about is, well, how am I doing better? Like, how am I actually improving, and what have I changed? And it wasn't even necessarily like a fully conscious shift. It was very organic. But I've always had a gratitude practice. So I've always been somebody that's like, I mean, for years, like, I don't even know how many years, I've paid attention to things. And I'm a daily person. I'm a little things person. I'm always that kind of way. But lately I've turned it up a notch. And especially I notice this when, for me specifically, if something feels like it's not coming quick enough, or if I get overwhelmed or anxious or about something, I realize like I don't actually feel that way normally. So like, what's changed? And I immediately kind of try to counter it. So what's worked for me lately, and I'm like loving, when I feel like I want something, I think the thought I want it, like if I'm going to manifest it or whatever, I think the thought I want it and I let it go. Like, okay, this is a thing that I want to come into my world. And then if it comes back in my mind and it's like, you know, kind of feels like unfinished, why do I want it? What does it actually represent to me? And I was talking about this with a girlfriend of mine last night because she was like talking about dating. I was like, why? Like, why do you want a boyfriend? Or she wants a partner. I was like, why do you want a partner? And she has this very romanticized, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, she has a very romanticized notion of what a partner is. She has this sort of like Prince Charming thing in her head. And I was like, she was like, well, just, you know, I want someone to help me with the bills, and I get lonely. I'm like, well, get a roommate or get a dog. And she kind of eye rolled, and I was like, no. I would challenge you to ask yourself why. Like, that's been a practice that I've done that has actually been really helpful. But why? But what does it actually represent to me? What about that specific, like if it manifested this exact way, what about that really lands with me? Or is it, oh, I thought I wanted it and then I get it and it's not what I want? And something I was thinking about is like, I'll give you an example for myself. Anytime I notice I want something to come in, I immediately am like, okay, what am I doing to get it? Or how am I clearing space for it is a big one I do. So like, how am I taking care of my house? How am I offloading things quickly enough to bring in the new? Because I'm not going to just hoard stuff. So I want something I need to sell. And a lot of me, like clothes or whatever, like things that don't fit, like they need to get out the door before I start bringing more stuff in. Or if it's like a nicer item, well, am I actually going somewhere that would warrant me wearing that? Or do I just like the idea of it? How am I taking steps towards living a life where like I actually want that? And do I actually want that life? Because really, what do you want and why? This is just a conversation that you have with yourself. But it's still something that like I said to her, and she was like, huh. And I was like, do you like think about your nighttime routine or your morning routine, or think about anything that you really love about your current life? Are you, one, showing appreciation for that, and do you know why you do what you do? But two, are you willing to give it up? Because it's about like, not only is it gratitude, but it's power. So it's this thing of like, I think to myself all the time, I am so grateful for the house that I live in. Like, I am every single day. I just like love my floor plan. I love this. I'm so thankful for this. This is exactly where I needed to be. This is the exact right house for me. I have never lived alone, ever. And this is the first time I have. And I am so grateful to be in a position where, one, I'm of age. Like, I'm able to, like, middle age. So I can, like, actually appreciate, like, what it takes to take care of a house. I also, like, feel like I'm a grown-up. Right? But it's deeper than that. It's like, it's just me, and it's a reflection of me and my values and my priorities, and I'm a homebody. So it'd be one thing, like, if I wanted to live downtown in a condo. I don't at all. So I don't, you know, and I'm so grateful. And I was telling her, like, with the dating thing, I'm like, what does this person represent to you and why? Because if you think, well, this guy's just gonna like fit in perfectly. It's not a 3D thing. It's a 2D thing. Because with that person comes all their stuff and their smells and their tastes and preferences and their people and everything. Right? And she's like, oh. And I was like, yeah. So like you have this notion in your head of what somebody is supposed to be or how they fit into your life, but you don't humanize them. And I think really, really, really pausing to be like, what do I actually not like? What am I lonely? Am I actually lonely? Okay, maybe I should get an animal. Or if I'm really struggling with bills, I should get a roommate. Remember? And she's like, yeah. Because then you also have a boundary there, right? With a roommate. It's like, well, this is just how it is. But with a life partner, when you don't have really clear clarity, and like you kind of, well, he does this, therefore there's this imbalance. And then you start making bad compromises and like for the greater good, but that's not actually what it is. You're starting to get smaller because you have like your power valuation is fucked. And I told her like, dude, I've just started piecing this together because I started to realize when I was on dates, like I'm not having any fun. Why am I not having any fun? Because they have an overinflated view of what they bring to the table, and I have historically always had I've always undervalued myself. And now I'm like, because I had never lived alone, and now that I do, I'm like, oh my God, dude, I'm good. And and the other thing is like timing. I was like, I want this to last for a while. Like I'm going to be here for a while. I have no interest in dating for a while. I mean, at least 6 months. I might keep kicking that timeline out because I'm just having a really good time by myself and it's easier. And right now, I just really want that. I want easeful. I don't want the stress of it. And I really don't think they're worth it. So, but I've had the experience with men to know that, and she hasn't. So she has to like figure that out for herself. And she said the same thing about some other things. But I thought, that combination of like really digging down into why I want it and then feeling embodied in it and then being grateful for what you do have and taking care of what you do have, that is that's like a really wildly effective combination for just like being present, being positive without being toxic about it, all this stuff. And it's been so good for my outlook and just for my timing. I've also been doing this work where you do like a yearly inventory and you look back on the year and you look at what you've brought in and what you've been working on. And I was like, man, I looked back on my January and my February and I was like, holy shit, this year did not go the way I thought it was going to go. But you know what? I learned surrender that way. Like I really learned, like you have no idea what the universe has in store for you. And you don't know how it's going to come. You don't know. And that's not your job to know. I mean, it just is. And that's a very feminine way of looking at it because we don't need to know the how. But like I've never been more in love with my life than I am right now. And it's going to keep getting better because as I heal, I have capacity to move forward versus like tending to wounds. You know what I mean? I can heal, I can move easier, that kind of stuff, right? So I just wanted to share that with you because I know I get a lot of comments, a lot of DMs about healing, about trauma, about all that kind of stuff. And that's really resonated with me and it's really landed and it's been a game changer for just like outlook and productivity without being like exhausting and all that. So hopefully that helps. If it doesn't, sorry.